Howdy banger fans, Blaine Smith welcoming you to Overkill Global, Banger's international heavy metal review show. So great to be back for another trip, once more around the sun, baby. And this week, we're off to Norway. Yes, it's one of the most famous scenes in the world. You asked for it. We're delivering you Norwegian Unblack metal? What? And of course, we'll be hearing from a local expert, and we're gonna need some expertise on this. But hey, you guys asked for it, so that's why we're bringing it to you. And we're also gonna hear from you. Some of our Patreon donors will give their shout outs for what they think the best albums in the scene are at the end of the video. And speaking of Patreon, we have a Patreon. You give us some bucks, we give you content. It's a good deal. We also have a YouTube page that you're on, which you can subscribe to, and there's a community page where we're, you know, getting to know y'all. So, what do we know about Norway? Well, I've actually been to Norway, so I'm something of an expert. Let me include a nice little a photo collage of some things I know about Norway. Norway has some big swords you can stand in front of. It's got some mountains that you can stand on top of and pretend to be a wizard. It's also got some great tattooers that can do cool work on you like this. Oh, that's not a good one for this episode. Take it down, take it down. So what do I know about this scene? Absolutely nothing. Funny story, I got an email with some of the scenes and I was like, oh, Norwegian Unblack metal, I'll do that. I love a bunch of non-black metal bands from Norway. I didn't realize it was Christian black metal bands. But then once I was corrected, I was still into the idea for a bunch of reasons. One, I'm a shit disturber. It's funny having Christians being shit disturbers in a shit disturber scene. I mean, there was all these black metal artists worked up about it. You can't play our music, which is funny that you're more upset about Christians playing your music than, I don't know, murderers. You know, it's also just a cool way to kind of be inclusive, party with everybody, but also, hey, maybe while some of those Christians are hanging out with us listening to some black metal, we can tempt them over to our side. Hell, in my Twitch chat the other day, I legitimately had a teen Mormon black metal fan. And you know, I'm happy to provide content for people like that. I'm also happy to help you get out of your religion if you're looking for a way.
Call now.
But enough of me being a jerk about this. Let's hear from an expert. Serious hats going on now.
I'm Doug Van Pelt. I'm the editor of heavensmetalmagazine.com. Hypothetically, black metal was formed as a new genre of metal that was more extreme, more intense, and that Christians could never copy it. And the message of Christianity and the Bible runs the gamut of human drama and emotion. You've got blood, you've got vengeance, you've got goodness, you've got light, you've got dark, you've got shadow. The drummer from Mortification, Jason Sherlock, did a project called Horde and released this really incredible album way back in the 90s. But that kind of was one of the first pieces of music that shined a spotlight on what we call unblack metal or Christian black metal. There's still some great bands active in Norway. My pick for the favorite metal album of Norwegian descent would be what I call the debut album by Extol, Burial. It was so incredibly well done. It was fast. The vocals were shrill. The guitars, the rhythm section and the guitars were so fast and so synced up and tight that it was like a machine. But yet there was like kind of this swirling melody behind it. And then the vocals were shrill and intense. It was just done so well. It was just world class. I remember having Extol play on my stage at the Cornerstone Festival, and jaws just dropped all around. It was a wonderful moment. Everything from the artwork to the lyrics to the production was just spot on, and that's my favorite in this genre.
All right, thanks for that. But let's get into my picks. As a reminder, these are 5 albums listed in chronological order that I think best represent the scene. They're listed in chronological order, not by any sort of a ranking. There will be a skull rating at the end of them that will tell you that you can then determine a ranking from. So let's find out, can holy unblack metal stand up to the fury of unholy black metal, or is it all gonna sound a little too Jesus-y? Well, let's find out from our first band. It's Lengsel, Solace. It came out way back in 2000 on End Time Productions. I think we're gonna hear from them a little bit, but let's hear from Lengsel a little bit. Lengsel formed in 1995 in Oslo and did a little on-again, off-again Ross and Rachel thing until ultimately calling it quits in 2011. Solace was their debut album, and from what I've read at the time, it was critically acclaimed. So, hey, good for them. The band itself is progressive black metal and establishes itself as that with all the hallmarks pretty quickly into the record. Musicianship, of course, top-notch. Drumming is quick and precise, but with more variety than in conventional black metal. Guitars are able to create a catchy hook to perk up your attention or pull you back to it if you're multitasking like I usually do when I listen to music. There's keyboards doing work as piano and strings and all that stuff, but surprisingly, they're not over the top. I know you're hearing Christian keyboards and thinking, not over the top, that's impossible, but hey, here we are, and it works. There's also a kind of like early 2000s progressive-y, melodic-y, hardcore feeling to the thing due to some clean singing. It definitely sounds a little dated, but it sounds cool, especially if you enjoyed that music when it was coming out. Overall, what could be a big turnoff, especially for someone like me, the two labels of progressive and Christian, are kind of kept in check by the lyrical themes of the band, which tend to deal with longing and sorrow. I mean, the band's name in Norwegian means longing. It sort of feels, not sounds, but feels like a doom band warning. So that's pretty good. It's a good start. That's why I'm giving it 4 out of 5. Is that a skull on the album cover? I think it's a skull, so I'm going with 4 of those. So we've done progressive, now let's check folk off our black metal scavenger hunt with Arvinger, Helgard's Fall. It came out in 2003 on Nordic Mission. Formed in 2001 in Stathelle, I was reading their Wikipedia page, and I don't know if this is true, but this is too good to not share. Initially, the band released a home studio record consisting of 6 songs on mp3.com and received significant positive feedback from fans. They recorded 3 additional songs and published their first album. That sounds too good, right? I had to share that with you. And then you listen to the album and you're like, that's definitely true. The keyboards sound really clear and upfront, and the instruments sound classic black metal shitty. Just the perfect thing for 2 guys home recording for mp3.com. It really does have an overwhelming amount of charm to it, though. You want to have a flagon of ale sloshing around a table. The guitars are chunky and nail that sort of fun troll tail frequently. The drums vary from blast beats to some simple silly stuff to some time signature changes. It's just really a shame that this is recorded so bad. So why did I include a record that is just really poorly recorded and that kind of gets in your way of an enjoyment of the music? Well, 2 reasons. One, like I said, that charm is really there. The keyboards have almost like a Final Fantasy VI soundtrack feeling, and let's be honest, we're taking a look at the cross-section of black metal, and good records marred by bad production is a hallmark of the genre, and if I'm doing a look at the genre, I'm including a band that does that. And also, hey, if this was recorded by a racist vlogger from prison, it would be heralded as a classic anyways. 3.5 out of 5 Umaro skulls from the end of Final Fantasy, the credits. But now we arrive at the big guys in the room, the hallmark of the genre, the classic. Antestors, The Forsaken, came out in 2005 on End Time Productions. While Australia's Horde would be the first to really put unblack metal on the map, Antestor was one of the first to do it, forming in 1993 out of their old death doom band Crush Evil. And hey, they gained enough notoriety that apparently in the 90s they were receiving serious death threats from Euronymous, Varg, and Faust. So hey, I guess that means you made it. The reason we're in 2005 though is that's when they would release their real masterwork, a nice slab of Norwegian black metal tinged with a little bit of melodic, a little bit of folk, but all balanced real well. The black metal itself has that great cold Norwegian sound to it, but as mentioned, you know, it's got these other elements in it, so every once in a while there'll just be a lady chanting over it, or someone will be playing keyboards at your Dungeons and Dragons game. What really elevates this band to a classic though is the guitar work, especially on my favorite track, The Return. It's got this great melody, but then halfway through the proceeding, there's just this crazy shred guitar solo that just makes me want to see some wind blowing through that dude's hair, baby. If you're thinking, boy, those are some great professional, clean sounding black metal drums, that's because they are. They're coming from Jan Axel Blomberg, aka Hellhammer, is a session musician on there. So there's some pedigree for you, and that's pretty funny. And then what gets really funny is if you're then starting to look and go, hey, and that looks like a Christian band's take on a Dissection album cover. That's because that's exactly what it is. Christian Wallen, aka Necrolord, is the cover artist. That's funny. This is so steeped in black metal. Who cares if it's Christian? This is black metal. This is a part of black metal's history. It's a great record. I give it 4.5 out of 5 Christian Wallen skulls from that Witchery album cover. Thus we come to 2015 with DROTTNAR's Stratum. It came out on End Time Productions. And did I add this band just to make some people in the comment section really angry? Maybe, because this is a Christian black metal band with what? Soviet visual imagery. Have a listen and a watch. Formed in 1997, they were briefly a Viking black metal band, but then they would find their home more in technical black metal as well as that whole Soviet thing. They actually have 2 great albums in this and Welterwork. But Welterwork is 52 minutes, and I'll just say it doesn't quite need to be. This comes in at a svelte 38 minutes, so I guess between albums they learned to self-censor. Censoring must be a Soviet thing, eh? And yeah, the technicality is the star of the show here. You have 2 guitars just constantly competing with each other in winding, dizzying solos, and it's just really exciting to see what are these guys gonna do next. And you have bass that serves a purpose. Sometimes you're gonna listen to the bass and you're like, hey, this is doing a cool, interesting thing as well. It's almost got a technical death metal sound to the bass, but without the tone crossing over into that kind of farty territory. Good stuff. Drummer Glenn David Lind, and I only mention his name because it's the only one of these guys that I can pronounce, has the simultaneously and very rare combined ability to sound like a technical drum robot, but then every once in a while, they loosen up. Let the shoulders go. Play a fun, punky rhythm. So again, not really anything bad to say here. Really on board with everything they're doing. Thumbs up from me. Easy 4.5 out of 5 skulls. Comrades, little hats. Boop, 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 boop. And for our final album, let's get a little more modern with things. 2018's Frost Harder on Nordic Mission. Hey, they came back. These guys apparently formed in 1997, but released their first album in 2018. What were they doing all those years? Certainly not thinking up an album cover, I'll tell you that. Just slap our logo on the black background. Who looks at these things anyways? Anyways. This is, like I said, the most modern we're getting here. The production is definitely a lot cleaner. There's still a tiny bit of gauze, but nowhere near second wave levels. This is the most straightforward and aggressive record as well we're getting. You know, you've got your powerful blast beats, you got your weenie guitars, you've got your evil vocals, and sometimes some lower, also evil vocals from Dr. E chiming in below. What makes this album interesting comes at track 7 of this track 10 affair. Identity Denied is an 8-minute song that starts out like a normal black metal song and then gets weird and progressive towards the end. It then leads into War Machine that has a long winding solo towards the end of the track, and then the final 2 tracks on the album have sort of post-metal-y intros. Generally, everything works. You know, there's some missteps here and there, but what it does do is it creates an album feel to what without it would have felt like a collection of 10 black metal songs. My only other criticism would be that when they're singing in Norwegian, sweet, I don't know what they're saying. Sounds great. When they're singing in English, I tried to escape, away, away, but you have torn my wings off. It kind of makes me go, oh yeah, I'm listening to Christian metal. And I mean, I guess fair enough, I am listening to Christian metal, but still. So tempering myself because, hey, I'm in someone else's house. I gotta behave myself. This album gets 4 out of 5 skulls that, hey, you can't be bothered to come up with an album cover, I can't be bothered to come up with a joke for your skulls. So, wrap-up time. What did I learn by taking a walk through this scene that felt kind of distant from my own? Well, what I think we all learned is that before Fenris and Euronymous were making waves in Norway, there was another rebel making a splash in Jerusalem. His name? Jesus! Sorry, I had to do that. I apologize. That's rude. But what I seriously learned is that we all have a bias about Christian music if we're not Christian. We think it sounds a certain way, which is bad. And that's because a lot of it sounds bad. But what we've proven here is that, hey, I can find pretty much whatever type of black metal you're into. I can find a band that makes that music and it sounds good and it doesn't come at you too hard. And it's great. It's quality. And, you know, we all need to keep an open mind, and that's, you know, why this show exists. Taking a look at stuff that you might not normally have taken a look at and gone, hey, I like that. That's good by me. Thus, we come to our shoutouts. We want to hear from you. And you guys actually had a lot to say about this one. Daniel Hall says Extol is probably the biggest, but you already have that one in mind. There's also Mantric, which is currently signed to Tooth and Nail, Solid State, if I'm not mistaken. Both of those bands are more along the lines of progressive post-metal now, though they were both originally influenced by black metal. Giancarlo says Extol and Lengsel. DJ S also says Extol. Undecived, their album. Ryan Wheeler says if you expand the region to Scandinavia, Crimson Moonlight was surprisingly good. I agree. Marianne Sophia says Grave Declaration. She loves the song Change of Heart. I agree. And she also shouts out Antestor, the song Inmost Fear. And Derek Witt really loves Antestor's The Forsaken. And Zabmoth 00, Extol, DROTTNAR, Skalden Veum, and Crimson Moonlight is Swedish, but also great. Hey, look at that. You guys are in too. That's great. Thanks so much. You know, we got a comment section. It seems like, hey, let's have a good discussion about this. This one seems to be, you want to chew the fat about this one. I'll be down there with you. Let's hang out. Thanks so much for coming out. And if someone's about to say, but you didn't include symphonic black metal, Blaine. What about symphonic black metal? Look, man, you already got me listening to Christian black metal, and now you want me to listen to symphonic on top of that? Do I look like Dylan? Do I look like Sam Astaroth? Yeah, that's right, Sam. You've been with us long enough that I can start making fun of you. God damn. Shut up, Garrett Rogers, State Line for this outro.